Hello everybody. I wanted to show you a little bit about Visual Studio Code in combination with Copilot. So in this case I have a very rare case actually with a customer where I had the SCOM 2012 agent being removed from a server because we wanted to install a much newer agent. And the uninstall actually removed the DLL, which should be there because it was a shared DLL from some other application. So in this case, I just wanted to showcase how to, create a little bit of script around the original script and also show how it works with Copilot. So this is Visual Studio Code. I already have installed the Copilot plugin, which is here at the bottom, just below my face here. There's a little bit of an icon saying that it is enabled. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down my thoughts in comments and then see what the Copilot comes up with as pieces of script and see how I can just slightly adjust them maybe and see how I can use them further. So the idea is that this script serves to check if a file exists and make a backup if it does exist. Run some piece of code, and next we want to check if the file still exists. If it does not exist, we restore it from backup. Alright, so that is the description basically. I can make it a little bit easier. So there we go. A little bit easier to read. So let's do this. Check if file msvcr100.dll exists in the system32 folder. Alright. If it exists, we create a backup of the file into the same folder using alt in the file name. Alright. So basically that is our first piece of script. So let's do function check file. So I'm starting my story. And this is basically the suggestion that I'm getting immediately. So it's a very short one in this case. If test path, so let's press tab. So if I press tab, I'm actually accepting what it proposes. So it also makes it a little bit easier for me to read. All right, so if test path for that file, so if it finds the file, then copy the item into that path, from that path into the destination, so it actually puts underscore alt into the name. All right, so that is good. And in this case, I want to make sure that we can actually see if the file existed before. So let's put a variable here. File existed before is, let me actually just put a 1 in there. All right. So now we have some script pieces that we ignore for now. Actually, we always have to run the function at some point, so let's put that the running of the function over here, right? So check file, then it will do this. Next we come to check again if the file exists. If the file does not exist and it existed before, we restore the file from backup. There we go. I just pressed tab and it already filled out the rest of the sentence. That saves me a little bit from typing. So, function check file after. Oops. Let's see what it comes up with. All right, so let's press tab. If test path is there, so is not there. So if the file is not there and the file existed before is yes. So it got removed basically at that point and it used to be there. Then we take our old file and replace it back into the new location. All right, that should do the trick. So I've actually did this before and I wrote out multiple steps separately. For example, these two lines, I had them separate, and then you can create a separate function for each. And then, you know, the checks will be a little bit longer, the code will be a little bit longer, but it will still do the same thing. So it all depends on how you prompt this story. If you prompt it in little bit pieces and separate functions, then yes, you will get more code. But in this case, we combine things such as checking a file and making a backup. And then we have here our existed before. So that means that we can actually make a comparison of before and after in this line. Right? So we could have done that separately, check if the file exists. And then if the file exists, yes or no, and it exists before, yes or no, then we can do a backup thing. But of course now we can do it all in one or two blocks in this case. And of course at the end we do the check file after to finish these pieces of script. So now we can actually do these pieces around the actual script which we are going to use for removing the old SCOM agent and to get around the problem that we just saw. So this is a nice example of how the Copilot actually helps you even type pieces of text in your comments, but also uses the comment pieces to create new pieces of code. I could, for example, say, let's say I wanted to install agents, SCOM agents, and you can define a management server for that. Well, I can say I have two management servers and I want to, you know, assign them at random. So I could just say, okay, give me a random number between 1 and 2. And then I can say, okay, function random number, tab, okay, and there we go. So we can use this, of course, in order to say, okay, server 1 is 1, server 2 is 2, and then whatever gets sent to random, you just pick that server and you input it into the script to install the agent. So you can see it's quite easy to write down your thoughts and get an answer as to what Copilot does. So really nice. Check it out if you have the license for it. I happen to have a license for it, so that's very nice. And let's see what you can do with it. I've seen many languages being used for this so far. And yeah, it's very useful, especially if you kind of forgot how to do things, or maybe you miss a quote or you miss some bracket or something. This will actually help you form those first initial bits and pieces. And then obviously you will make some changes according to what you know and to what you want, because it cannot, of course, read your thoughts exactly if you didn't write them down exactly the way you wanted to have them. Right, that's it so far.